Mike, is this a work or is this attempted murder?
Hey, you better bring it if we debating going toe to toe. No holding back, I'm speaking the facts. Let me introduce you to the dopest show. NerdyD and Milwaukee Mike, bringing the energy. If you a fan of wrestling and especially WWE, this is the Casual Wrestling Show. Casual Wrestling Show. We got opinions, we letting them know. Casual Wrestling Show. Hey, ain't no holding back.
What's up, guys? This is the Casual Wrestling Show with Mike and D. I am the official casual YouTube ambassador for Friday Night SmackDown's NerdyD, and as always, I am joined by my partner of the show, the casual ambassador for Monday Night Raw, the one and only Milwaukee Mike. Each week, we bring you fast-paced hot takes for your listening enjoyment. We are going to touch on Raw, Backlash, and AEW this week, and also update our power rankings. But first, if you haven't joined the Casual Club, now is the time to do that. That's where we do our polls, our giveaways, and all of that kind of special stuff. So make sure to check the link in the bio. You can sign up 100% free. So, Mike, I'm going to have to start the show off by congratulating you. I'm going to congratulate you and Adam Pearce because that was a hell of a Monday Night Raw. That was a hell of a start to the post-draft 2024 season. Phenomenal. Great start. King of the Ring, y'all nailed it. Great main event. Good promo work in the middle of the show. All around, nothing to be mad about for the average casual fan. Now, I have some things I'll bitch about in a little bit, but I want you to break down for me. Let me know what made Raw so special this week.
So it's funny that you feel that way because I feel the opposite.
Really?
I feel the opposite.
Interesting. I tried to give you flowers. I was trying to bring you.
I should take them. I should really take them. But I gotta disagree.
Okay, now I'm engaged. Now I want to hear this.
Yeah. I think it was a pretty mid Monday Night Raw, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I have a couple points here. We'll run them down.
Okay.
My first thought is Jey Uso has become a novelty. And I don't think that he'll ever have a singles championship to his name.
Wow.
I think what's happened here is now he's become such a let's go and see the entrance and let's go, do the yeet, that a lot of people are kind of ignoring that he's actually not that great in the ring. He's got a very small moveset, and I think you're kind of milking this now just because of the fact that he is an attraction. Now, I'm glad he's on Raw. Because we like attractions on Raw.
Okay.
But I think overall, he's become a novelty, and it concerns me a little bit. Hopefully, he'll get back into the bloodline, and he'll become a little bit more relevant in my eyes. But for right now, I see him as just a novelty.
Holy shit, caught me off guard.
Yeah.
I mean, the first thing I wanted to talk about is that I think Jey Uso's the next big baby face in the company. I think if Triple H books him correctly and doesn't drop the ball and doesn't have him lose to Ilya Dragunov next week, I would have him go on to beat Gunther and become the king of the ring. Gunther doesn't need to be king of the ring. He doesn't need that. His trajectory is to be a world champion. Damian Priest, to me, is a transitional champion. We got to get off of Damian Priest. There's some interesting stories to be told inside the Judgment Day. They don't need the title to tell those stories. I think that Finn Balor's being booked to look like the goofy sidekick. I don't love what they're doing. But on the flip side, I understand what you're saying. I understand the minimal move set for Jey Uso. I understand that his ring work needs, it needs some help. But just as a entertainment value, he's the guy right now. You've got NBA crowds, doing this thing, and I think you have to capitalize on something like that. It's in the same vein, not in the ring work, but in this movement of like Daniel Bryan. Right now, there is kind of a cultural phenomenon going on right now. I think that the finals of the King of the Ring tournament should be LA Knight versus Jey Uso, and Jey Uso should yeet all over LA Knight's face. That's what should happen. I am shocked that you see. So let me propose this to you, because I've kind of had an epiphany in the last couple of days. I think Raw is lacking really good baby faces, and SmackDown is lacking really good heels. So if it's not Jey Uso, who is the big baby face for Monday Night Raw?
Well, that's a good question. And I think there are some candidates I think you have to consider. I do want to kind of piggyback on what you said with Damian Priest. I think that he is a short-term champion and he should be booked as a short-term champion.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think that he has any value carrying this thing any longer than maybe 3 months, maybe, possibly.
That's what I have in my head.
So, I think that's kind of where you got to kind of lay his bed with his trajectory and where he's going. My next bulletin point I have here is, how is Braun Breaker not in the King of the Ring tournament?
There's got to be other plans there, right?
I would hope so, because this seems like it would have been a prime opportunity for him to kind of bust on the scene, win this whole thing, and kind of hit the rocket ship. But instead, we have a segment with him last night that was kind of weird.
Throwaway almost, yeah.
Yeah, and we had no answers from that. And then I want to hit on the women as well.
Okay, go for it.
This kind of goes with the mid Raw that I think it was last night.
Okay.
Zoe Stark versus Ivy Now should have never touched TV last night.
I agree with you on that.
Should have never touched TV last night. I don't know what you're doing throwing two. I'm not going to call them terrible, but they're not polished. And you basically wasted TV time on those two women. Now, I'm not trying to be sexist. I'm not trying to come off as bad, having bad blood towards women. I don't. But that match was awful. And the fact that you cut a Rey Mysterio versus Kofi Kingston match and put that in there instead, I mean, I think with women booking, I think what you have to do, what's really important is, if you're putting somebody in that's not that great, but you want to kind of elevate a little bit, you have to put them in there with somebody that's already polished.
Makes sense.
So they can work with each other. Having Ivy Now versus Zoe Stark last night, those are two of the same, and it showed in the ring. And then my last point is, I think Gunther will be the world heavyweight champion by the end of summer.
I do too. That's what I believe. That's why I don't think I see everybody screaming he's King of the Ring, but I think King of the Ring's too novelty for Gunther. You don't want him wearing a fucking goofy crown and shit like that. Like, that comes off a little bit hokey to me sometimes.
Yeah, I'd agree. I do think that he's going to win the King of the Ring. I really do. And what I hope doesn't happen is, I hope they don't waste the spot with him versus Ilya Dragunov in the finals. I think that match has to wait. I think you got to let that match be somewhere other than Saudi Arabia, where the crowd is not going to really give two shits about those two going at it with each other. Yeah. I think ideally you wait for Ilya to challenge him till Gunther has the strap. Make that match really big and help Ilya have a great showing, so that he can kind of have that momentum, almost kind of like a LA Knight, where, he's getting momentum, he gets that title shot. Now, I know that you had some.
I've got it written down right here. I've got a question. I said you're gonna have to convince me. I watched him this past Monday. They booked him against Ricochet, which is what I said they're gonna do. They are afraid to put a 5'9", 200-pound soaking wet guy in the ring with Gunther. I know this has happened before, and I know it's happened in like NXT Europe or something like that. But casual fans react to this shit differently than like NXT hardcore fans. You have to have that something special, like Rey Mysterio has, to tell that story. And I just, up till this point, I haven't seen it with Dragunov. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is that everybody sees in him that they go, this is special. Because when I watch him, I don't see anything other than like another Adam Cole. Another just small guy who, he's pretty gifted in the ring. He can do a couple things. He yells a lot, like he screams a lot, but I haven't seen that one thing that makes me go, put him in the ring with Gunther. Put him in the ring with a top level guy, because I think you risk the Karrion Kross kind of curse of putting a guy who's not over with the casual crowd into a spot. I'm with you. Like, I don't think you do Ilya versus Gunther in this tournament for that reason, right? I don't think he has enough backing at this point to stand in the ring with Gunther. And maybe with time, I'm kind of a slow burn. Maybe with time, I will understand what it is. But right now, I'm not an NXT guy. I'm not an NXT Europe guy, so I don't know what it is.
So with Ilya, the thing that I kind of want to, maybe I could persuade you. Maybe I can persuade you. Let me try. So you got to think of previous WWE champions that kind of had the same stature, right?
Yeah.
Your CM Punks, your Rey Mysterio, your Dolph Ziggler's.
Well,
your
CM
Daniel
Punk and those
Bryan's.
guys are a little bigger.
They're about 6 foot. And Ilya's 5'10".
5'9". They're stretching it. Like, you see him. He's not. It's
not,
one of those, we're going to give him an inch.
No, for sure. And, he's a smaller build. I think what he brings to the table, though, he's intense, right? He's got that Ken Shamrock. He's got that Kurt Angle.
Okay.
He's got that Brock Lesnar to him, right? He's good on the mic. He has good mic skills, so he can cut promos.
Okay.
I'm not saying that he's going to be a world champion.
Okay.
I don't think that's his trajectory. Now, maybe he has a one-off, kind of like a Kofi Kingston. Yeah. But I think you were right. He's going to be on the mid card, and he'll tell. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. And he'll tell great stories. I think what the fans will end up liking about him is that he's intense. He brings that Drew McIntyre and Sheamus and Gunther kind of vibe to everything. And I think that's something that a lot of people can gravitate towards, where you're getting these high-flying matches, you're getting these kind of throwaway matches, then you can throw in a match with Ilya that's kind of a hard-hitting, kind of NXT takeover-ish kind of match that can kind of get the crowd back, get them off their feet a little bit, and I think he'll gain support as time goes on.
Okay,
now,
I'll be patient.
Yeah, I will completely agree with you. He's not going to be a top star, but he will be prevalent in the mid card, and he'll hold his own.
Yeah, my fear is like guys like Braun Breaker to me just scream, like the guy. And then I see that the swell behind the IWC that goes, no, it's Dragunov. Dragunov's the guy. And I'm like, I'm a Braun Breaker guy right now. But I will. Sure. I'll give it time. I can see what you're saying. He is intense. And maybe that becomes more of a thing the more I watch. I've never seen him cut a long promo, so I don't know what his capability is there. Last thing I want to talk about is Liv Morgan with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't know, Mike. It looked like a shot of confidence was put into her. I thought she held her own on Monday Night Raw. So a couple weeks ago we talked about I thought she held her own in the ring with Nia Jax and Becky Lynch. I think promo-wise, she might be starting to get it. I think she looked and talked like a superstar this week. She didn't look like she was in her own head to me this week.
No, I agree. She's slowly starting to burn on me a little bit, and I'm happy about that because that's something that you would want her to do, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You want her to convince fans to kind of gain traction and get on her side. I'm curious as to why this match is happening at King of the Ring in Saudi Arabia. That kind of makes me feel like she's not going to win because Saudi Arabia is kind of that stage where you kind of get your big stars, the wins, and get them the pops there. But I can also see that benefiting the story because it's a revenge tour, right? Maybe she loses and she has to go back to the drawing board, and maybe that's how she gets involved with the Judgment Day and Dom. I know there was an Easter egg yesterday with her. She had a picture with bandana in her pocket. So I'm sure that's going to intertwine in here somewhere. I don't know that she wins at Queen of the Ring, I guess I would call it. Yeah. But I could definitely see her securing the championship within the next 3 to 6 months for sure.
So the one thing I want to touch on that I think that you said was that crown jewel style booking that we're used to.
Yeah.
I don't know if that wasn't a Vince McMahon thing. I don't know if that wasn't Vince McMahon going, we're just going to please this crowd. I could see Triple H, going to the people in Saudi and going, we're going to book this normal. You're now just in the rotation. You're now we're not going to change up the booking style just for you guys. I also can see a world where you're right and Liv Morgan needs one more loss to just kind of finally snap and break and go fully to the dark side, go full on Liv Morgan revenge tour. And then it's that following event where she finally does get over the top. And that might be around the time that Rhea Ripley may not be ready to wrestle, but maybe start coming back into the fold and those Dom things start to fall in place. So I could see definitely that maybe we're, one premium live event away from her getting there. But I definitely feel like she's taken that step. I'm not I used to be like, no, do not put a title on Liv Morgan. Whereas now I'm like, I'll entertain it. Let's see what this looks like.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm with you on that 100%.
All right, so let's talk a little bit of Backlash. I don't want to talk too much about it, Mike, but I made a video a couple of days ago, and I've pissed the internet off as I've done many times in my life. I wanted to get your opinion on this because I'm getting it from all angles, and I'm pretty, I feel pretty stuck in my ways about what I'm saying. I'm not trying to say that crowds can't have fun. Yeah. I'm not trying to say that crowds can't chant for 3 hours. What I'm trying to say is that I do believe it takes away a little bit from what's going on in the ring, and I do believe that the IWC is trying to overrate this crowd. What are your thoughts on this situation?
Yeah, no, I'm with you in some aspects, right? I think when you're at a wrestling event, right, WWE event, you want the crowd to be going crazy during the entrances, during certain spots, during certain moments, during certain results, right? Those are expected. Yes. Right? Singing along to songs. That happens more frequently than people actually think, right?
Yeah.
It's just, it wasn't as prevalent as what you heard in France on Saturday. I don't necessarily think it's great for a crowd to be chanting nonstop during the match when it makes zero sense. Chanting stuff that we have no idea what they're saying.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to sit here and knock countries or anything like that. Everybody has their styles. I know overseas, that's kind of what they do during sporting events.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I'll give them a pass for that. But for people wanting that to happen here in the States, I think you got to pump the brakes on that a little bit. Now, I think it also did benefit WWE because now you have that tape, right?
Oh yeah.
Those are your selling points for people to come out to shows now.
Oh yeah.
Seeing that it is a spectacle and that I can't miss that when it comes to my city, or I can't miss WrestleMania next year because holy shit, that was awesome. But I'm with you. I don't need the 3-hour nonstop chanting. I think there are moments for certain chants and singing along and having good old jolly moments. But you know, we got to pump the brakes on doing this whole nonstop 3 hours, just nonstop. It was a little bit much for me. It was a little bit much for me.
To me, it was the things that they missed because they were doing something else. The moments that they didn't catch on to because they were too engulfed in every time there's a 2 count, we have to do this 3-minute chant that goes, 1, 2, Stakla Blue, then it goes into another chant, which bleeds into. That's the part that I didn't love. If they had a chant that hit on a 2 count, that's fine, right? If you had a couple songs that you're singing during the matches, that's fine. But it almost, to me, felt like they were missing moments that were like, these are key beats that the wrestlers need you to kind of hit. To me, it affected the heels the most. Because someone like Tiffany Stratton can usually get a reaction from a crowd, whereas in this one, they're just singing for everything that happens and popping for everything that happens. And that's fine. Like I said, I don't want this to become normal. One-off, this is great. What you said is 100% right. They can play this video, talk about how excited everybody was. And even in the moment, I was like, man, this crowd is crazy. It wasn't really till the main event that I was like, all right, shut the fuck up. Now I'm trying to hone in on this match, and you guys have hijacked it by... Apparently that one chant was because the word phenomenal, they would, every time the word phenomenal was said, they started popping and singing a song. And so I'm like, yeah, but he's the bad guy. Yeah. You can't, it's not working. He's trying to do heel tactics and you're singing songs. That's the part I didn't love. The only other thing about Backlash, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Just one more thing on the crowd. I think WWE is definitely going to heavily consider doing a WrestleMania now because of what happened on Saturday. Just because the optics of everything, right? The optics of the crowd and how excited they were. And I could see the executives saying, man, to get that on a television screen during one of our biggest events of the year, we got to do that. But I'm with you 100%.
Guys. Let's ease into this thing. Let's start with give them a SummerSlam or something.
Yeah.
The only thing I wanted to point out, Mike, I need to, I tried to give you flowers at the beginning of the show. I'm gonna give myself a little bit of flowers here. That Backlash was SmackDown heavy. I mean, if you really look at it, Bianca and Jade won the tag team titles, kept them on the SmackDown roster. Your main event was AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes, which I thought wasn't the greatest match of all time, but it was the first one that we've gotten in a long time that was just wrestling. There was no interference. There was no bullshit. Cody won and the show ended, which, Some people love it. Some people hate it. It's just refreshing. It wasn't a Roman Reigns match. The Bloodline added a new member, even if it was Camacho. Like, we added another member to the Bloodline, so that's cool. Even though he completely missed. You had one job, dude. You're not going to come in and botch your first spot. Like, all you have to do is that referee pulled himself out of the ring. That's not a good look. But it just goes to show that, like, Triple H is invested in this Bloodline thing. And who's the other? There's one more, right, that we're kind of anticipating.
Jacob Fatu.
And we're now assuming he goes to the Roman side and that this is the Rock side. I've seen people, you got to balance this thing, right? You got to have 4-4 for Survivor Series. Seems like we're setting up perfectly.
Yeah, you would think so. Listen, at this point, I don't want to make any predictions because I've been completely off on this whole Bloodline. I thought it was done after WrestleMania.
Me too.
I was completely wrong.
Chapter 3. We just moved on. And then, of course, Tiffany, Naomi, and Bayley did their thing. So, I mean, the 4 out of the 5 were SmackDown. We held it down. We did our thing. For you're the 3-hour show, and you guys contributed one match, which was Jey Uso and Damian Priest, and you're over here hating on Jey Uso. So I'll take the win on that one.
I still think you got the boring champions, but I'll digress.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue. Well, I would argue right now that if you really looked at it, most of the champions aren't where I want them to be. Damian Priest, Cody Rhodes is going to have to find a shtick that's not I'm Dusty's son.
Yeah.
Logan's got to fucking show up at some point.
Right.
And then Sammy, I get, like, I still don't love Sammy winning the Intercontinental title because all he talked about was he needed to be a world champion. And I guess Gunther elevated that title to make it feel relevant enough to do it. My only thing, going into King of the Ring, I kind of said it earlier, but I want to kind of reiterate. To me, King of the Ring has started to feel pointless. I miss the days when the whole tournament was one show.
One night.
And there was storylines woven into, like, someone got injured, but they keep wrestling, and there was kind of a pride in winning it. The last couple of years have felt slightly hokey to me. Like, Xavier Woods won, and then was proceeded to be picked on by the Bloodline, and they crushed his crown. It was like a bully storyline that I didn't really love. I wish that there was a prize for winning the tournament. I wish you got an automatic title shot at some point down the road.
I think that is part of it this year.
Is it really?
I don't quote me on it, but I think maybe.
I hope so. It feels like that should be, like, there should be a reward other than the stupid plastic crown that you get.
Yeah, but I'm with you though. I miss the days where it was one night, and it was match after match, and you had to kind of get to the end. And
guys got injured and come out limping for their third match of the night. To me, that was always more impressive.
If we could do gauntlet matches, why can't we do a tournament in one night?
Agree. And why can't we here's like the other fix I would do. You always have that weird SmackDown that happens right before. So you could, if you needed to knock out the first round on SmackDown, do that, have a couple squash. You can do a couple at a live event, but like the bulk of it should be at King of the Ring. There shouldn't be, don't call it King of the Ring and then there's 2 matches and the rest is just going to be a normal card. I don't love that.
I agree.
All right, Mike, let's do some AEW affirmations here. I'm 14 days into this journey, Mike. 14 days. I've lived up. Don't know how much longer I can live up to this. I'm going to try and go the 90, but I have to start by saying something nice. So what I'll say is AEW is the best fake fighting show on television. That's what it is. Because they don't tell stories. It's not professional wrestling. It's just fake fighting. And I don't use that to make fun of the sport of professional wrestling. I use it because they're trying to sell it like it's a sporting event. But I gotta tell them, like, if you want to watch fighting that's just random matches, that's what UFC's for. You go watch real guys beat the shit out of each other. This scripted circus doesn't make sense to me. But here's my take after 2 weeks. It was like watching a completely different show this week. There was 20 new wrestlers that weren't on TV last week. This week, I got to see Edge. I got to see Christian. I got to see Kenny Omega. I got to see someone else. I don't remember who it was, but faces I recognized all of a sudden. And so I liked what I saw a little bit more, but it's still on a week-to-week basis is insane to me that this is the same Dynamite show that I watched last week. To me, that's hard. There's no storylines. The ones that are there are so basic and so stupid. The issue is I'm just more confused every week that I watch. And when the fuck does Rampage come on? Because, like, 2 weeks ago it was on Saturday. 1 week ago it was on Friday. This week they did it after Dynamite. Just get rid of the damn show at this point. If you don't know what to do with it, get rid of it. But the most confusing thing to me, Mike, and I talked to you a little bit before the show, was this whole Kenny Omega situation. So Kenny Omega comes out to cut a promo, and he cuts this heartfelt promo. It got me in my feels a little bit because he's talking about, I may never wrestle again. I have diverticulitis. The doctor told me that I'm going to have a colostomy bag, and they're going to have to split me down the middle. And if I get kicked again, I'm going to die. And I'm like, oh shit, this is real. Right, and then the fucking Elite came out, whooped his ass all over the ring. Mike, is this a work or is this attempted murder? Like some things I just don't. I mean, I guess that makes a good storyline. I guess it's a little extreme. AEW's hokey to me. I don't get what the IWC. They keep trying to tell us it's pro wrestling. It's more sports entertainment than WWE at this point. You got the Elite hijacking the show at the beginning and like weird little effects on the camera and Tony Khan fucking in a neck brace in the Jaguars headquarters. It's all hokey, and I get all wrestling is hokey, but there's only one side of the tribalism that screams, we're the real pro wrestling. And then the other side admits that, like, what we watch is entertaining. It's hard. Once again, I know this pisses people off. It's hard to watch. It's hard to follow. It's hard to keep up with. Last week, I called it Dr. Thunder. I don't even know that it's Dr. Thunder. It's that weird craft soda that you get at like a fucking health store that the college kids are like, bro, I drink it because it's healthy soda. It's like it's the same shit that these guys go, well, bro, it's real wrestling because they do real moves. I don't love it. I don't
seems
love
like
it.
Seems like attempted murder seems to be a theme, right? Tony Khan gets attacked by the Elite. Darby Allin's getting hit by a bus.
It's out of control, Mike.
Kenny Omega over here about to die from a kick. I mean, I guess for me, I'm going to kind of piggyback off the confusing part, right? One thing I don't understand is the ranking system, right? Because you had Christian, who was, I believe, the TBS champion.
Yes.
Lost to Edge.
Uh-huh.
Hadn't been on TV for 2, 3, 4 weeks.
Yep.
All of a sudden shows up last week and is the #1 contender for the world championship.
Yep.
How does that work? Please, AEW fans, I'm not trying to be mean. So clearly there's a fluke in the rankings because that's not how rankings are supposed to work, at least in my mind.
So the explanation they always give, though, is like, well, they just kind of use like, what the fuck does that mean? We just kind of use, just when we feel like it. Well, I think that's what all pro wrestling is. We just kind of assume where a guy is. The last thing I'll say about AEW, Mike, is I read that they're declining in the 18 to 34 market, like the real important wrestling market. And that was always their claim, right? Was like, WWE may win this big picture, but we're winning this little niche. Mike, they had 3 guys over the age of 50 take up an hour of Dynamite. And you wonder why kids aren't connecting with the show? Chris Jericho's 53 years old. Edge is 50 years old. Christian is 50 years old. And those are the guys that are, I get it, like old guys like me are like, yeah, I recognize these people. But the young one, who the audience they should be going after, is probably like, why is Grandpa in the ring? To them, that's Ric Flair to them.
Right.
And so that's why I say Tony Khan's just all over the place, man.
That whole company's all over the place.
All right, Mike, I'm excited to hear your rankings this week because there was, there's a little bit of movement on Monday Night Raw. You had quite a few things happen that I think, a couple new guys stepping in. So I want to hear. You want to go first? Give me your top 5 on Monday Night Raw this week.
Sure. I think it's, again, results based from this week. So I don't want to hear like, oh, but someone's no. This is from this week. It's my rankings. If you got a problem with it,
It's exactly right. Exactly right.
So I'll start from 5 and I'll go down.
Like it.
So at number 5, I have Lyra Valkyria.
Okay.
I thought she had a great debut match. I think she looked good. She's got a good body type. She looked good in the ring. I could see her being a player at some point down the line here. And I think going against Dakota, that was a good, formidable opponent, and she looked well. So I got her at 5 this week.
I also think having Becky in your corner is a big deal.
Oh,
Becky's going to do everything she can to make sure that she gets over. So I'm with you on
100%. And number 4, coming off a loss, which I thought it was a good loss, I have Ricochet. I thought he looked great in that match. I thought he looked great. He's the speed champion. He's been on a little streak here lately, and I'm starting to respect him a little bit more than maybe I had previously. So Ricochet is at number 4.
I have a small concern though.
Okay.
Why is he not wearing the title? This is my big fear with that. Put that title on TV.
Yeah,
I get that it's not going to be defended there, but if you have a belt, show a belt.
I'm wondering if it's marketing and brand specific to X. That was the only thing I thought about during.
I hate that
when I seen that.
I hate that because you're not. To me, if I'm X, more people might be intrigued if they go, "What is Speed? Why is he the champion?"
And maybe moving forward they'll have him do it.
I hope so.
Maybe yeah. Number 3, I have the victor of that match. I have Ilya Dragunov. I thought he looked strong in that match. It was a great match. Probably the best match on the card last night.
Okay.
Number 2, I have Jey Uso. He got his rebound back from this loss on Saturday. Beat Finn Balor. So he's moving on in the King of Ring tournament. And then number 1, I have Gunther.
Yes,
it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard to dethrone him until
they get off of whatever push he's on. I don't know how you dethrone him. I'm with you 100%. Him and Sheamus. Every time I said I gave you shit after the draft about Sheamus, but every time him and Gunther are in the damn ring, it's fucking the chemistry. You can add Drew McIntyre to that. When those 3 guys are in the ring, that's what I want wrestling to be. Is what they 100%. Put on.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so I'll drop my top 5 on you then, Mike. At number 5, I have, even coming off of a loss, I have Tiffany Stratton. She continues to impress me. Everything I see, for somebody that I didn't know much about before she got to the main roster, it's like she was plug and play. I feel like she's ready. She's in that top 5 conversation of active women right now. And so I think we're closer rather than farther to her picking up a title.
And she didn't take the pin for a reason.
No, exactly right. Exactly right. Number 4, moving down 1 spot, is the Bloodline. Camacho, man. Camacho. That's the new member of the Bloodline, and he whiffed on his first attempt to do something there. I thought that match was phenomenal, though.
Yeah,
I thought that was a great opening match for that type of crowd, because I think it probably amped that crowd up to where they couldn't sit down after that. Number 3, I have Team RKO. I think Randy and KO are invaluable. I even in losing, they're just invaluable to the roster. I think that, Solo and Tonga, or whatever his name is, they don't look that good in that match if it's not for 2 veterans on the other side probably calling the match and making sure that everything's going the way it needs to go. So that's why I give them credit this week. Okay. Number 2, Cody Rhodes. That's same as last week. And number 1, holding at the top is Bianca and Jade. Mike, I get that Jade Cargill is still green, but the optics of Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill holding the titles after that match, there's nothing better than that. They have everything. Kind of what you talked about in like Gunther and those guys. Great pro wrestling, strong, fast, athletic, gorgeous. They both have good personalities. Like, you couldn't ask for a better kind of teacher for Jade Cargill than Bianca Belair, and the selflessness to kind of give up half of your spot basically to groom her to be the next big thing. Obviously, that's what she always gets, the last entrance. She always kind of gets the last, although I think Bianca got the pin. Jade is always kind of right in the middle, and I think ultimately Bianca's smart enough to know, unlike people in AEW, that if you build Jade up to be big, you're going to benefit it down the road when you actually have a match with her.
If I got some quick time here, I want to hit on Jade and some of the IWC stuff that I've seen online.
Go for it.
I think it's very, very stupid for people to say that Jade is not good in the ring and that she's limited when we have not seen her run in WWE yet. Now, I understand she had her time in AEW and whatnot, and maybe that's the lasting impression that you guys have in your head. But you have to understand that she is in a whole new monster right now. She's getting developed. She's getting trained. It's going to look a lot different. And for those thinking, oh, well, she's bad, so they had to pair her with Bianca Belair. This is strategic.
100%.
You're not going to throw somebody like Jade out to, be solo straight away, because the trajectory for Jade is a lot higher than a lot of people think, I believe.
She's going to be the biggest thing in the company 2 years from now.
Now, you got stars like Tiffany that, are going to get her solo run before Jade. This is storytelling. Now, I know a lot of you aren't aware of that from AEW, but this is storytelling. Her and Bianca are going to be tag partners. They're going to dominate for a little bit. There's going to become some turmoil. I'm sure there'll be some kind of a turn at some point. They'll have a rivalry, and it'll probably be one hell of a fucking rivalry.
100%.
And then after that, she'll go on and she'll do her Rhea Ripley's or Charlotte Flair's, and her moveset will be unlocked more and more as she gets more time. Her promos will become a lot better. This is strategic. Y'all have to chill on calling Jade out of her name, because I'm telling you, you're going to regret it in 1 year. I promise you.
I liken Jade. I don't understand this need for they always think these athletic girls, you got to be Charlotte Flair. Jade to me has characteristics of like a giant, of like a Big Show, of like, she's not going to need to do the same things that everybody else does. Her dominance is going to come in the form of power and a few big moves, even like a Roman Reigns, where your moveset's not going to be wildly expansive. You're just going to do the things you do extremely well. And I think she's already starting to show flashes of that. So I'm with you. But I think a little bit of that IWC shit is there's a bitterness that comes from the AEW fans who thought, like, for a long time, the AEW fans, that was their comeback. Yeah. Well, we have Jade. We grew homegrown. We have Jade. She's going to be here forever. And she's our rival to Bianca, and she's going to set the company up long term. And then all of a sudden, she jumps ship, and they're like, well, fuck her. We don't like her no more.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I see. But this has been another episode of the Casual Wrestling Podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe to the show. Join the Discord and the Casual Club, and follow us on social media. Before we get out of here, Mike, I believe it's your turn to go first with a final take this week. Hit me with it, brother.
So all those Roman Reigns haters, how you feeling now that he's been absent? I bet it's a lot different now that he's not here.
Yep.
You miss him, and when he's gone for good, you're going to realize what impact he had on this industry.
Yep. All right, Mike, my final take here is I got a second match for you for Double or Nothing. Since I've already booked one for Tony Khan, I have a second one. This one's going to be a parking lot pimping match between Ric Flair and the guy he tried to fight at the bar. That's match number 2. We're going to do that. And Mike, Ric Flair wooing in a blind woman's face is the most Ric Flair thing I have ever heard in my life.
And he had a heart attack in his last match. He had the other day. Oh my God.
He told the restaurant manager that he was there to put the restaurant over. What world is Ric Flair living in? But the best line of the incident, Mike, is he told the manager, let's go outside to fight. And the manager goes, I can't, I'm on the clock. And Ric Flair's answer is, you're on the pussy clock. How do you come back to that?
Go get some wings.
Tune in next week, guys.
Hey, you better bring it if we debating going toe to toe. No holding back, I'm speaking the facts. Let me introduce you to the dopest show. NerdyD and Milwaukee Mike, bringing the energy. If you a fan of wrestling, and especially WWE, this is the Casual Wrestling Show.